Good afternoon, good morning, everyone. We noticed that people still are coming in, but I'd like to start with the welcome. So welcome to today's webinar, Navigating a Changing U.S. Business Climate. I think we all follow the news, so the reason to do this webinar is the actual developments. So thank you for joining us today. And whether you're already active in the US or whether you are exploring to start doing business in the US, I hope that this session will help you to gain some insight from companies that already do business in the US and experts and people that can support you. So in over the next 90 minutes, we will hear directly from LG Sonic and Noardling, Dutch water tech companies that already work in the US. We have Cleveland Water Alliance sharing the opportunities in their region and how they can be of help. TAPS is a company with expertise in how to do business in the US. And then we have the Dutch and the U.S. Embassy that will share how they can support all of us. And hopefully we all share practical insights, examples, some lessons learned that can help you. If you have any questions, please use the chat for that. And before we dive into everything, from the people who are in the call now, can you raise a hand or like the virtual hand who is already doing business in the US? Anyone? Yeah, I see a few. Very good. Thank you. Anyone in the call that is looking to start to do business in the US? Yep. So good, interesting, because you might not be aware of it, but just to give you an idea of how big the US market is for Dutch water tech, a total of 9.9 billion was exported in 2022 and an estimated 3.3 billion, so like a third of that went to North America. So I think that's a pretty big number, meaning that the US market is an interesting and a good market for Dutch water technology. But as we've all noticed in the last few months and weeks, the rules of the game are shifting. So we have evolving water issues, we have the geopolitical effects, we have new funding flows, changing regulations, rising costs, and this all means that entering and scaling in the US now requires sharper strategies and more insights, more local collaboration as well. So having said that, and before we hear from our Dutch companies doing business in the US, I would like to introduce Saskia Pardaans. Saskia is a senior advisor, infrastructure and water management at the Embassy of the Netherlands in Washington. And she will offer us a high-level view of the US water market. Much of this is, of course, addressing challenges related to water and climate adaptation. And Saskia works closely with both Dutch innovators as well as American stakeholders to bridge the gap, unlock opportunities for collaboration. Saskia.
Yeah, thank you for the introduction, Yvonne. Again, I'm very happy to be here. And I really want to start with a positive note because, again, everything seems to be very negative when people think and talk about the United States. And a lot of things are going on, but still, I think there are a lot of opportunities. But before I do that, I just want to very emphasize briefly how the economic network in the US looks like. Again, I'm working at the embassy in Washington, D.C. And besides the embassy, we have 5 consulates in the US, in New York, Atlanta, Miami, Chicago, and San Francisco. And besides that, we also have 3 Netherlands business support offices in Houston, LA, and Phoenix. And the Netherlands Business Support Office is really a trade office of the Dutch government. And the one in Houston, I used to work for as well for 6 years. So that's dear to my heart, near to my heart. So that's the network that we have in the United States. And again, we all support you in your international journey. A lot of people don't know it, but we're going to talk more about what we can do for you. But know that the embassies, the consulates, and the MBSO are here to help. Again, we talk about it later, also together with Philip. But now I really want to share some positive notes. Again, as I was saying, business is still going on in the United States. You only have to look for it. That's the only thing. It's not like you say, okay, I book a ticket to the US and then, well, business is waiting for me. No, you have to look for it. The examples I want to share you and also has to deal with looking for. We just published an opportunity report on climate adaptation in the United States. What we did there is focus how are we going to define the United States and where are we going to look for the opportunities? Because again, more than 320,000 people, 50 states, it's a lot. So we decided to focus on cities. And why cities are still willing to work together, and they also are in need to work together because they really faced the challenges day by day and they have to deal with it. So in our opportunity report, we defined 12 cities. And again, it's a living document, so probably cities will be added. We chose these cities based on the following things. So we choose coastal, riverine, and urban resilience as topics. And within the topics, of course, flooding, drought, and heat stress are the main important topics that we're working on. And also looking at the cities, it's all about what kind of disasters have there been lately. And when the disasters have been there, is there money? And are there projects to work with these disasters? So those are were main topics to make decisions on. But I think the most important thing as well is, do we have a network there? Because again, that's also why I'm here, why Philip is here, and why the Cleveland Water Alliance is there. It's all about networking, because then it's much more easy to get an introduction to the right person. So again, later on, you will see a link where you can download the report. But that's, again, we've been working on that for half a year. We say, okay, cities are more important. I also used to work very closely with the Mississippi River Cities and Towns Initiative. That's also an organization that works only with cities and towns. And again, it's so much easier. So it's good to know for you. They are willing to work with us. And again, the Netherlands are very well known also among the cities. So that's what I wanted to let you know. Another positive thing is that we're working right now on a partners for international business program. That's a program by RVO. We'll tell about it later. For flexible flood solutions in the US, and the areas that we're going to focus on are Florida and Texas. Again, if it would be that crazy as everybody thinks in the US, we wouldn't start a program like this. And there are more, I think 12 to 15 companies, Dutch companies, who are going to participate in it. So also they see opportunities. So that's something positive I want to mention again. Another positive thing, and again, I'm trying to go a little bit through the United States with different areas. We're about to sign a memorandum of understanding with Maryland, also on the topic of climate adaptation, because we also see what's happening over there. It's close by, of course, to the embassy, so that makes it also very easy to work on. But that's also something we're working on. I'm going to have, for instance, an event in June where I will talk to cities and towns along the Chesapeake Bay. That's a very large area here close to DC, where I want to try to learn them to work together, to collaborate, because it's much more easier than every city doing everything by themselves. So also that's an initiative that we're working on. So again, I think something very positive. There's also a memorandum of understanding with California, where water is also a topic within the memorandum. So that's also still, and California always says we're still open to business, so they're also willing. And again, the Cleveland Water Alliance is here in the call, but we have partnerships with different organizations like this. So I think that's also very positive. So what I was saying before, it's again, the business is there, but you have to look for it, and maybe on a smaller scale. But when you are working on that specific skill, I think then you can be very successful. And again, it's also something that's going to be mentioned with by Yvonne, I think. But it's also important, WebTech, for instance, that's going to be there in October. That's the ultimate opportunity to look for business. So I think really there is so much still to do besides all the turmoil that everybody is talking about. And based on that, I want to give you some advice, and then I give the floor to the next speaker. But again, what I was saying, focus on cities or smaller organizations. It's really, really important. And there are so many organizations that work with cities. You have the climate cities, you have the C40 cities, and we have connections there. So it makes it easier to get in touch with the right people. And again, join organizations like the Cleveland Water Alliance. They're really, really interesting. We also have the Aqua in California that we work with, the Water Tower in Atlanta, for instance. In Maryland, you have the Association for Water Technologies, and every state has similar organizations. So based on where your clients are or where you want to work, there are these kind of organizations, and I think you really should connect with them and work together, because that's going to help you a lot. Again, I was mentioning WebTech already. It's a very important, and I think especially for water technology, maybe the most important conference there is. And also something I want to share is, and maybe also the speakers after myself can share that. I think it's also very important to demonstrate your project. So if you are in the US, show what you have. And I want to share just an example, and because I really like it, and I like the business idea behind it. There's an organization, again, they're building the flexible flood solutions. It's something else than water tech, but still I want to mention it. They brought a container from the Netherlands to the United States, and they had really demonstrations in Baltimore, but also in Texas, to an audience that we helped them get the people together, and they're doing business, because seeing is believing. And I think that's something I really want to also mention here. Don't just talk, don't just bring flyers, but if you can, show your product. And that's really, for now, I want to conclude with that. And after the end of the webinar, Philip Hammerstein and I will discuss what our embassies and our governments can do to help you go international. But I just wanted to give a very positive push for this webinar. There is business. So please come on over to the United States.
Thank you, Saskia. It's great to hear that there's still lots of appetite also for Dutch water technology. I do agree with you that there are great opportunities here, and thank you also for the advice. Demonstrate your tech. I know that's very relevant, but also what you mentioned about focus on the smaller organizations, but also cities. To get your business going. That sounds great. If anyone has a question about what Saskia just told, please raise your hand or just unmute so we can answer that. And if not, we can also ask questions, of course, after all the speakers. So let me introduce you to two of our Dutch Water Alliance companies. One is LG Sonic and the other one is Noardling. Yes, Baker asked about the link to the report. Very good question. We will definitely share the link to download the report. It's very interesting, and it gives you a lot of information about the ongoing projects and opportunities. So let me introduce you Craig Eifert, who's a director of LG Sonic in the US. And Johan Langius, who is CEO at Noardling. Both LG Sonic and Noardling are great examples of Dutch companies with successful business already in the US. And with the US market experiencing both like the inflationary pressures, but also the reshuffle in the whole economic situation, we're very eager to hear from both of you how this is playing out. So first of all, then I would like to hear from both of you. What does your company do? So, Johan, if I can start with you, what can you share a little bit about what Noardling does? We can't hear you yet. Yes,
Sure,
now we can.
Yvonne. Now we can, I believe.
Yes.
I'm Johan Langes. I'm the CEO of Noardling, and we are a combination of 3 companies who are dealing in transporting water and cleaning water. For example, Archimedes screw pumps, aerators, decentralized wastewater treatment, and we do now for many years already business in the United States.
Thank you. Craig, can I invite you to introduce LG Sonic?
Yes, hi. This is Greg Eifert. I'm director of LG Sonic U.S. We are a wholly owned subsidiary of LG Sonic in the Netherlands. We manufacture ultrasonic LG control devices and monitoring buoys for sale to municipal, industrial, and recreational.
Thank you. And maybe to continue with you, Craig, you already mentioned that LG Sonic has a subsidiary in the US. Can you tell us tell us about how LG Sonic organized its US business?
Sure. I think initially they were selling direct from the Netherlands. This goes back around 2000, before 2018. And then Yusuf, our owner, and I decided it was best to have a US company actually presence in the US. And I think it was a very good move, especially in the municipal water. They tend to be fairly conservative as far as buying any product internationally. So we formed a US company. It's wholly owned by the Netherlands company, and essentially we're a distributor. In a sense, we import the product and sell the product, but we're the front for the customer. So we're a local US based company, which I think is a big advantage. I mean, and if you're able to do that, it definitely makes sense. I think customers in the US feel more comfortable, having a US establishment to work with.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we will dive into that a little bit more in a second. Johan, we've spoke obviously, and for you, it's a little bit different. Can you share how you organized your business?
Yes, we are doing outside the Netherlands. We are dealing with a distributor network. So our sales in the USA goes through a distributor network. And that means currently we are subject to 2 types of challenges within our business, the BABA Act and the tariffs, which are incurred since short term. And we are trying to find our way around and to see how we can resolve issues or trying to mitigate risk for our customers.
Yeah, and you work with distributors. Yep. You mentioned. So how does that work? Do you have conversations now? How to deal with the current, because no one knows, of course, what will happen. So it's an uncertainty, and maybe you Yep. always, when you run a business, there's always some amount of uncertainty. So how do you deal with that?
Yeah, of course, in the last few weeks, it was a lot of turmoil in finding out what does it mean for our business and what does it mean for our customers, given the unclarity about the information coming to us. Now it has been clear And it means that currently our customer in the USA is suffering from the import duties. And of course, if our customer is suffering, we are suffering as well. And we are trying to find ways in maybe establishing a manufacturing area in the States, but we are still far away from that. So at this moment, we look for opportunities how to limit the impact for our customers, but it's very hard given the continuously changing tariffs and information around this subject. And that's, yeah, it's a challenge, I believe, through the whole chain. It's a challenge for our end customer. It's a challenge for our distributor, and it's a challenge for us. Although from a financial perspective, the burden of the import duties lies at our distributor, or in most cases at our end customer. It's on the end, nobody is expecting along this line. And so we are on a frequent base on the talks with our distributor. It's not only about the tariffs, but it is also meaning, okay, is our stock not piling up in harbors because customs are overloaded with packages or products or containers. So we are also trying to support our customer with finding the right route to ship our products to a harbor in the States. I believe we have seen a similar thing in Europe during the Brexit, where packages were piling up in the UK, and we want to avoid that one towards our customers. The least we can do, at least, is support our customers to deliver the goods in time on their location.
Yeah, that's good to hear. So what I hear you say is that there are definitely challenges in how to deal with the uncertainties that we have at the moment, but also you are in close contact with both your distributors as well as your clients to make sure that you can service them as good as possible. And Craig, I know that LG Sonic has also a warehouse in the US, and you do some assembling over there, but you still import goods. How does that work for you?
So, yeah, we do stock and we have parts, and we're looking at assembly in the US. We're kind of doing the mathematics on that to see if that makes sense. But I do agree with what he said as far as the potential holdups at customs and borders and that. So we're trying to get stocked up a little bit ahead of that and see how that helps us smooth out the path.
Yeah, that makes sense. That you need to figure out how that works, but in the best way, of course, for you. And if it comes to like the appetite you see for the LG Sonic technology, for instance, Craig, do you see a change in that, or because I think you have a pretty unique offering for your clients, so that might be helpful to keep demand up?
Yeah, no, that's one thing I haven't really heard that much from the customers as far as the tariffs yet. I think it's one of those situations where the demand, depending on your product and the niche you happen to be in, I haven't seen any hesitancy for people to look at our products and look abroad for products. I think it's I don't think that's changed at all. I think a lot of the tariff stuff just is high end at this point. I mean, it does affect them, but I don't think it affects the demand.
Yeah, that's good to hear, and I think it's good to notice that, of course, maybe on this side of the ocean, there's a little bit more noise around the tariffs than what you experience within the US, Craig. That's definitely good. I think to be aware of on this side of the ocean. And looking forward, is there or maybe from your perspective, to give advice or some how could companies that are looking to grow their business in the US, any advice for those companies, Craig?
I mean, I think the biggest thing is emphasizing the niche, or understanding the niche that you're going after and what you're offering that other companies can, especially companies in the US. And that's the case with us. There really is not any sizable companies that have a product like ours. So understanding your niche and your benefits that you have, I think, is the biggest thing. And then if you're able to have some US presence, I think that's, for our end, I think that's the most powerful thing. I mean, we aren't looked at as call it a foreign company. I mean, people know it's the product's built in the Netherlands and that's a benefit, but they're working with a US company to supply them. So it's kind of a win-win.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think even Saskia already mentioned that as well, that it's good to have some presence, but also make sure that you have great examples of some references in the US also to further grow and advance your technology in your company. Johan, from your perspective, because you already mentioned briefly that you had some trouble finding the right information. Any sources that we might be able to share with others in this webinar that could be helpful for them if they are looking for more information?
Yes, I have been going through a combination of different sources. I believe I also contacted Philip, I believe a half year ago, that was regarding the Build America, Buy America Act. Of course, the best part regarding the tariffs is to look at the American government, because that is where the most updated information is.
Yep.
But especially dealing with complex products, large products, then it's always good to find local advice in the States, in people who can guide you through this, sometimes complex situation. On the end, there's not a lot most of the companies can do in the short term to avoid the tariffs or the BABA Act, because if you want to avoid that, then especially with our products where there's a lot of steel coming from, you need to source and produce and assemble in the States. And that's, of course, something which needs a lot of CapEx and especially time.
Yeah, of course.
The current situation did not give us a lot of time. So it really depends on what you're looking at. If you're looking at freight issues due to the customs, contact your shipper. Most freight forwarders should be able to give you a proper advice in which harbors are having a smooth operation and which are having difficulties. If you ship smaller packages like parcel, then take a look at the large parcel shippers like DHL, FedEx, and UPS, and see if they are facing issues. I hope it's a temporary issue, because I believe on the end customs will resolve all the backlog they are having right now. If it's regarding the BABA Act, then it's just ways to find the right advice through embassies or trade lawyers in the USA, because I have discovered that the law is that specific. Although you can get some guidance in the Netherlands, the best information you can obtain in the USA itself.
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you. That's very valuable for everyone. So thank you for sharing that. And looking forward, Johan, what are your expectations for your business and hopefully growth in the US?
As was mentioned during the opening words, I believe by Saskia, America is a country full of opportunities, and we will definitely look to grow our business there. It's a significant part of our business, and if I want to overcome the turmoil we are facing right now, then most likely we need to set up a manufacturing site ourselves in the USA, or we will find a solid contract manufacturing partner who will produce for us. Like Greg has only a sales office, that would hurt my loyal distributor network, so I'm not going that route. I want to find routes where I can support my customers better in the USA.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds good. And well, hopefully we can see you grow in the next months and years ahead without too much turmoil. Yeah, thank you, Johan. Thank you, Craig, for sharing your story. And we will definitely open the floor up for questions later. I would like to first go to the other speaker, so you have your complete picture. But I think we can conclude from this that there's definitely challenges in these times, but it's also different for each company. And find your good resources, stay in touch and close communication with your customers, your distributors, and well, hopefully everyone gets through it and can well benefit from all the opportunities that there are. All right. So then I think this is a great moment to introduce the Cleveland Water Alliance. Happy to have E.B. Holst in the webinar. E.B. is Director of Clusters and Innovation. And Cleveland Water Alliance has been instrumental in helping international water tech companies, including those, a few from the Netherlands, to validate and scale in the US market. They're a great gateway to the US. So E.B., please take us to the Great Lakes.
Thank you so much. I'm very happy to be here, and I'm still waiting for my take control button to light up. But in the meantime, I do want to touch on one of the things that, as Saskia was speaking about, that the US still has opportunities and needs. And I really want to reinforce that. Politics throughout the world change and shift and influence all kinds of things for all of us. But water is forever. We all need water, and the US population is 340 million people, every one of them dependent on water, and all of the industries as well. So that's a really important thing for us to remember throughout this discussion.
Absolutely.
So I still don't have, okay, I wait for the, there you go. Thank you, Martha. So,
right.
Yeah, you can see that. So just a little bit of background here on who Cleveland Water Alliance is. We are a water cluster, as you hear about throughout Europe. It's a very common model in Europe, and there are some in the US as well. And we actually are, I'm going to show you a little bit about where we're located. Let's see. We are based in Ohio, which is, if you look at the United States, it's kind of right there in the center on the right, looks like a little heart. And it is located on the shores of the Great Lakes. So the Great Lakes actually make up about 21% of the surface of the Earth's surface water. Looks like some of these slides are not quite behaving as I expected, but Cleveland is located on Lake Erie, and Lake Erie itself is actually the shallowest of the Great Lakes. But to give you perspective about the size of it, oftentimes we think of lakes and they're fairly small. It's actually a little bit bigger than Slovenia and a little bit smaller than Belgium. So it's, it's like the size of a country. It's a very large body of water, but it's also the shallowest, as I mentioned, of the Great Lakes. It's the most biodiverse, and it has all kinds of different parts of the economy, such as agriculture and industry and community needs, which all make this lake the most vulnerable to changing conditions because it is the shallowest. So some of the things that we actually have been working on is building out a telecommunications network over the lake. So the reason for doing this is for us to have a more dynamic response for how we're monitoring the lake, is to employ things like Internet of Things technologies, like LG Sonic would be a great example of that, where we are putting sensors that can give us reads on real-time conditions in the water or the weather and transmit those, whatever is detected, to the internet. And in order to do that, we need to have a way for that data to transmit, and that's the telecommunications network we've been putting into place. So to date, we've actually put into place about 7,700 square miles, which I should have thought to translate to kilometers, but it's about 2/3 of that, of the size of Lake Erie, which is what I was showing earlier. And we also leverage all of this infrastructure plus a couple hundred IoT devices that we deploy every year as a test bed. So this is something that is actually really important and potentially useful for all of you on this call, is to understand that if you have anything from a sensor device, or you have you know, forecasting or AI or machine learning or data management tools, or even other things that are like wipers that are used on IoT devices, that these are all things that can be not only trialed for validation with this test bed, but also demonstrated, which was one of the earlier points. You can already be commercialized in other markets. This is a way for you to showcase your technology also, is through this test bed. So we have actually a number of different test beds, and this isn't going to click through some of the things that I wanted to show you, but in essence, we provide essentially one kind of intake form that enables us to assess your, oh, thank you, to assess your interests and needs in getting your technology out and getting it demonstrated, and to match that against all kinds of different sites and partners. We have dozens and dozens of different partners for different types of trials, whether it's IoT or not. So we work with a wide range of utility partners. We also have some industrial partners and even some commercial partners, and we have ways for connecting folks to different opportunities for trialing. And for some of those trials, we actually can provide insurance coverage, which is a big thing in the U.S., where you have sometimes very skittish, as it was mentioned earlier, utilities can be very conservative, and sometimes being able to mitigate some of the risks up front with some insurance coverage is something that we can do, and that really can accelerate the response and timing of getting a pilot in place. Next slide. Thank you. You can just click through them all. That's great. So we have a number of additional supports that we provide for soft landing. And again, this can be for earlier stage companies, but also for more mature companies looking to enter the U.S. market. And a big one that I think is relevant from some of the comments earlier on this discussion is prototyping. Prototyping can be for very early stage companies looking to take a concept to prototyping, but it's also a service that can support a technology that will be new to the U.S. market and may need to be adapted for different power infrastructure or for different certifications and so forth. This is something that we can help you find the right resources for that. We also can connect you with manufacturers, and this is something that we're in the process of doing for, I think, a company out of Belgium, it might be, where in essence, they're looking to, eventually manufacture in the US. But we've connected them to a mechanism that lets you get your interest in front of a wide range of manufacturers, so you can start to get some estimates of what it would take to manufacture in the US. And for, earlier stage companies, that can help you with, what is your ask for investment look like? You can have your estimate in place so you can get some investment to help you fund that, but also for more mature companies, just being able to plan ahead can make a really big difference. So we have a lot of ways to kind of assist with that. We also have a number of distributors that we can connect you with as well. We have offices where you can use as hoteling space and even use a US address as you evolve your market entry, and ways to kind of get you some visibility to the people who may potentially be your buyers at some point as you get to know the markets inside of the US. I think that's it. Next slide. Yep, that's it. Yeah, so we have a number of different ways to support you, and there were a couple of things I did want to touch on as well from earlier comments. There's a lot of confusion right now, and that may continue about what things need to be navigated. But as I say, the markets remain essentially the same. We have water challenges to solve, and we need to solve them for, everyone around the world. Water challenges will continue, and we need to solve them. And we know that Dutch companies really have kind of an edge on that. So we're very interested in supporting how you work with our markets here in the US. And I, from CWA, am very interested, of course, in enabling you to use us as a channel for entering the US market. Something to keep in mind about what's driving some of the regulations is that idea that was mentioned earlier about, growing US, the US economy, the US economic impact. And so a part of that is really a shared interest with that manufacturing potential of manufacturing in the US, because that translates to jobs for US citizens, and that's part of what's driving some of the tariff activity. So that's something to keep in mind. That's where those interests may align. And then also in the comment about shipping, some of the fastest shipping can occur through the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Seaway. So there's actually a direct shipping route from Antwerp that goes directly through the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Seaway. And Cleveland is the first port in the US of that shipping route. And that's something to keep in mind. We saw that during COVID as well, where there was a lot of backup of shipments at the coasts, Western and East Coast. And this was where the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Seaway was really where we were seeing ways to bypass some of that traffic backup. So just a couple of those notes. And then in terms of something too that I think was mentioned, LG Sonic mentioned, was that nuance of what is your market and where are their thresholds for paying for some of those tariffs versus the market demand. And that's something we could definitely talk more about too.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Evie, for first of all sharing what you do at Cleveland Water Alliance, but also your comments. Very valuable, answering, I think, a lot of questions already. And it's really good to hear that you can be a great source of help in also getting in touch with potential manufacturers, potential distributors. Very helpful. So thank you for that. And I think everyone on the call agrees that water is relevant and that we have so many issues around water to solve that. Hopefully we can keep working together. So appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Great.
That's a great way to go to our next speaker, Jacob Willemsen. Jacob has been working and living in the US for a long time, and you can share the number of years yourself. I won't do that for you. He founded TAPS, his company, in 2010 to support European companies who are looking to set up their business in the US. So, Jacob, please share your expertise with us, please.
Excellent. Thank you, Yvonne. I hope everyone can hear me well. I see Yvonne nodding. 28 years, I think, in 2 days from now. So I'll share a little bit of the experience of the clients that we assist. And what do we do for our clients? And Mirte, if you can click through. Basically, our clients are all over the place. We are industry agnostic, but what we try to do is help all our clients with the back office, the administrative matters that they deal with. So it could be in hotel business, in pharma, and of course also in water, because I would say 2/3 of our clients, about 450 of them, are still from the Netherlands. And sure, we have a lot of the simple, the conventional Dutch industries, the bikes, the clocks, water. If you can go to the next slide, Mirte. What we do for them is, like I said, administrative matters, making sure that you can focus on what you're good at and why you want to go to the US, and don't have to deal with all kinds of back office issues. The corporate governance, if you're a Delaware entity, should you register in other states? If you do business in Ohio and you want to start payrolling there, how are you going to set that up? Nothing to worry about. You focus on your business part, growing your go-to-market strategies, and we'll try to take care of the back end. Enough about TAPS. Other than that, I want to say that we have about we have 4 offices with about 50 people now, in New York, in Houston, in Eindhoven, Netherlands, and then as of next month in Valencia, Spain. So from there, we try to assist all the European companies. Next slide, because this is what I want to talk to you about. It is a very uncertain market, and how are you going to deal with that? Because still, it is a market of 330 million customers, and a lot of companies from the Netherlands actually are in the B2B business or B2G. To give you an idea, the state of Michigan or Illinois is the same as the GDP of the Netherlands. The US is massive. A state like Texas, where Saskia has worked for 6 years, geographically it's 17 times the Netherlands, one state, and you have to take that into account. So what I'll tell you later as well, it's really, you need to make sure that you have plenty of budget available, and that means that little disruptions like tariffs, because everyone is up in arms about the tariffs, but at least as important at the moment is the exchange rate. Suddenly, your product is 10% more expensive, probably also temporarily, as temporarily as the tariffs. but still, it comes on top of it. So how can you mitigate those risks, or how can you at least survive the temporary disruptions? I think that's important, because let's also look at the plus side. If you start a U.S. or an entity in the U.S., and I was listening to Johan, who said that they were considering a manufacturing plant, but hey, that takes time. And I can assure you, it does take time. And we had I was visiting a company in Maastricht yesterday. It took them 3 years to actually copy a factory that they had in Limburg, and to get the same quality and consistency in their U.S. manufacturing plant. It really takes time. You need to make sure that you can survive that time. But let's look at the positive side. No one is currently still talking about it, but corporate income tax in the US, it may very well go down to 15%. How can you work with your financial advisors and take benefit from those kinds of changes? Because that's definitely a little less than in the Netherlands, right? And then on top of that, the corporate income tax that or the profits after tax that you have in the US have a very favorable dividend tax treaty. So you pay very little to get it out of the US, and you pay actually nothing to let it get into your BV. So that could mean, just suggesting, that you're setting up a US entity in order to mitigate the tariffs, because you can buy wholesale now. You don't have to use the drop shipping price that you would have to use if you ship directly to a customer. You can use your wholesale tariff now, or wholesale value, and make some profits in the US and move those profits favorably to the Netherlands. Now, what we do need to consider as well, especially for those water companies that also need to do commissioning, training of installations, is travel restrictions. It is something that definitely comes under more scrutiny. In the past, I saw a lot of Dutch companies kind of go under the radar and send their people over to the Netherlands, to the US, who were doing just a little bit more than a B visa would allow them to do. That is something where I would really advise you not to take risks going forward. In the past, you would be perhaps have an employee who got on the next plane back, but you don't want to take the risk that an employee is going to be in custody for 2 weeks before they send them back. That is not a good experience. I really want to make sure that you understand that the US is open for business. These tariffs are meant to put more substance in a US entity. That's all what Trump is about. And that means that they are welcoming you with open arms if you want to set up shop in the US. And yeah, I think that is for a lot of companies also what they should do. What I want to advise you is don't do too much business with your Dutch BV in the US. Sure, you can export, Works Netherlands, but as soon as you start installing, commissioning with your Dutch BV and Dutch employees, and you actually bill the client for time that was spent in the US with Dutch employees, you run the risk that your BV gets exposed to US taxation, and which is not, I mean, it can be overcome, but you don't want to be exposed by surprise. And if you decide knowingly that you want to do business with the BV in the US, then you should also do a tax filing in the US. Things like that we see a lot with the clients that we help in order to mitigate the risks and the uncertainties. Next slide. The do's and don'ts. I think, like I said, go big or stay home. You really need to make sure that you have ample funds to survive some disruptions. The US is a big market. I would advise also to focus on certain regions. Don't think that you can cover everything all at once. It's more like an oil spill. If you make sure that you have success in a region that you researched well, because let's face it, a lot of the Dutch companies think that they know the US by watching movies and reading a couple of articles. But that's not how you should research the US. And that's actually a pitfall. We know that we don't know China. We know that we don't know Brazil. So we do real market research. US, you get on a plane and you think you know the US, but actually you don't. So really don't underestimate your market research. Where are the opportunities? And Philip Hammerstein, who will speak later, has a back office of Bureau of Economic Analysis and Select USA who can help you with that kind of research. And there are instruments for the RVO who can help you with that kind of the finances to pay for that kind of research. Make sure that you have a US salesperson. I see it too often that they try to sell the product themselves, and obviously they know the market or they know the product best, but no one can sell product like US salespeople. So I would say take one to the Netherlands, let them get the DNA of a company, let them get familiar with the fact that it's not a race to the bottom, because of course US salespeople sometimes are focused on volume rather than margins. Make sure that you get US salespeople in place and manage them well. Yeah, a couple of very well, obvious things to me is the US is all about written agreements. If you do pilot projects and things like that, make sure that the goals are clear, because reasonableness and fairness is not something that the judge will look at. It is all about what's in a contract. No news doesn't mean good news. Also with the US government, especially now with the US government, now that the IRS is getting dismantled, it can really take months, if not years, to get responses from the IRS. And for that reason, it is sometimes a little worrisome whether you are doing it right. If I'm payrolling in the Netherlands myself with 9 people, if I forget to submit or remit payroll, I'll get a letter from the IRS in Belastingdienst in 5 days. Not so much in the US. So keep that in mind. Make sure that you use professionals to help you with that kind of stuff, because it can be very expensive. I think I'm going to leave it at that unless there are questions. And back to you, Yvonne. Oh, one thing more, Yvonne. Actually, the last slide has a, sorry about that. The last slide has a QR code to a research that we did. And with that research, you can see how other Dutch companies experience doing business in the US. I think it could be very valuable for some of the people in this webinar.
Thank you. That is absolutely great, and thank you for sharing that. Thank you also for your insights. I think again it's very helpful. One question that I have, because you mentioned that it would be good to have feet on the ground in the US. Do you have any recommendations for like small or early companies that might not have the capacity yet to have an extra office in a different country?
Yeah, I mean, you can very well do business remotely from the Netherlands in the US. At that point, I would want to advise you, be careful that you, even if you don't have the funds yet to set up an entity in the US, let alone payrolling in the US, make sure that you understand the tax complications of working in the US. Some of you may have received forms that are called W8 Ben-E's, basically saying, hey, US or a Netherlands vendor, I'm about to send you money, but I'm not going to withhold any funds from your invoice if you can state to me what your tax status is in the US. And in those forms, you typically say, okay, my tax status is that I will pay all my taxes in the Netherlands, which means that you actually you claim tax treaty benefits because it's allowed. But the only thing is, consequence is that officially you can only claim tax treaty benefits if you file on both sides. So that means that you have to file a zero filing in the US. A lot of companies forget that. Things like that, devil is in the detail, was in my previous slide. And I think that's important. If you want to do business from the Netherlands with your BV in the US, you accept that you're not going to get all of the potential out of the US market because you really need to have boots on the ground for that. However, it is possible. You'll get the low-hanging fruit, which in some cases is also nice. Not too many risks and low-hanging fruit, the easy stuff. But at the same time, be careful that you don't expose your Dutch company to US taxes, especially, by the way, if you're looking later on for funding, because those VCs and private equity will definitely take a carve out on the valuation of your company if it turns out that you may get a claim from the US tax authorities.
All right, yeah, thank you. And so I think it would be good for small companies or early stage companies to seek some good advice and make a comparison what would be the best way to do business with the US. All right.
Okay.
Again, I would like to go to our next speaker before we start asking questions. So I'm looking forward to hearing from both the Dutch and the US Embassy how they can support companies who are looking to do business in the US. And I'd like to invite Saskia again to join the conversation. But first, let me introduce Philip Hammerstein from the US Commercial Service at the US Embassy in The Hague, the Netherlands. And Philip, I think it might be a little bit less known how the US Embassy can be of help. So maybe you can start by introducing the US Commercial Service and what you do, and take it from there, how you can be of help.
Okay, great. Thank you, Yvonne, and also thank you for the opportunity of including us and both sides on this. To dive right into that, like how can we help? What do we do? What is the US Commercial Service? So we are part of the US Embassy. We are the Trade Department, and we are the equivalent to the Ministry of Economic Affairs in the Netherlands. They have an organization called RVO. They help Dutch companies export and also help US companies land in the US. We do quite the opposite. So we help US companies export to the Netherlands. We find partners and distributors for them. But we also help Dutch companies that want to set up in the US. So we're not really talking about the export part, finding that connection, but we're talking about, if you want to make that step, if you want to incorporate, or as Johan mentioned, if you want to set up a factory or a sales office, that is where we step in. I'll explain a little bit more to that later. It is maybe sometimes confusing for people to know. So you can call Saskia, when you want to export, we'll get that kind of information. But if you want to invest and expand, call me. In doubt, just CC both of us. Saskia and I have known each other for 10 plus years, so you can easily just contact us both, and we both have the answer, or we both don't have the answer, or one of us is able to help you. So we hope that you find a way. So I work at the US Embassy. We have about 30 different agencies focusing on different matters, and we're based in The Hague. But we also have a consulate in Amsterdam. Since Jacob mentioned it on the visas, just quickly want to highlight that that you absolutely have to look into. If you're traveling to the US, do you have the right visa or ESTA? There's a lot you can do on your ESTA, but not everything, including installation, for example. If you need a visa, just apply it through the website. The sad news or the bad news is that the US consulate in Amsterdam is currently closed because of construction work. We should reopen in July of this year. But for all of you who have done a construction work, we hope we'll make it July. Otherwise, it's going to be August, but should be on time. You can still apply in Brussels or other consulates across Europe. The program that how we help Dutch companies or foreign companies expand to the US is called Select USA. Select USA is the equivalent of the Dutch NFIA, the Netherlands Foreign Investment Agency, for those of you know. And we are here to help you. And what do we do? As Jacob also mentioned, we have tons of data. We want to make that data accessible to you and provide it to you. And we do that through, for example, customized market reports. Should you be looking for some specific details on, let's say you're trying to find specific demographics in a state, we can help you find that. Or if you're looking at the wages, the differences per state, we can make customized market report where we compare 3 states, for example, or 4, based on your needs. What do you need? Do you need land, a lot of land, no land, or do you need highly educated workforce and maybe more blue collar? We can all make that more insightful for you. Those reports typically take about 2 weeks to process, and good point, they are free of charge. We also have an investor guide, which is basically like a guide that helps you with the steps. What do you do? What do you do first? If you go there, that one is listed on our website. So please review that one to make sure that you make the right decisions. But also look at the report that Saskia made, because we actually had a conversation about this earlier, and I had the report and was really impressed with all the actionable information in that report, as it really lists down the projects there, who's doing that, and all of that. And then you also notice that that often the cities or the states are involved. So one of the other things we do is we help companies connect with the states or cities at a level, because they can help you much better on the local level than we can, and they have the right context. And in the presentation of the Cleveland Water Alliance, they outlined how they help, and I think that is a great example on how active these regions and states are on helping foreign companies, and make use of that, and also make use of the incentives. If you're looking to open a sales office or maybe a manufacturing location, there are incentives out there that can help you. Incentives means money, and it can be maybe some tax deductions or other things, but it is out there, and make use of it as well. So that's connecting with the states. So that's more on the networking level. We also have obviously an access to a trusted network of companies and service providers we work with, including Jacob, who can help you set up and navigate the US. On the navigating, we do acknowledge that it's very difficult for foreign companies to navigate the federal system. We've got so many US agencies, Department of Energy or the Department of Transportation, who you might need contact with. We are here to help you find those people as well. It is even difficult for us, so let alone for you guys. But when we can find them, we'll definitely try. I think it was mentioned earlier also by Greg. Sometimes you want a U.S. team on the ground because U.S. companies like to do business with American companies. That is because the country is so large. They are also used to working with U.S. companies, and maybe there is a U.S. competitor, and it's just easier to go that route. So don't lose your jobs on that front. I do want to highlight that we have a Select USA Summit, which is a big summit that takes place next month. So that's in 3 weeks, May 11 through 14, where we help foreign companies expand in the US. by giving them access to the federal and the state level government. So we have the secretary level, so that's a minister in Dutch of different agencies, providing insight, and also, where's the country going through? Because we all see, and it has been touched on as well, that we are in a shift, in changing geopolitical landscape, investment climate are changing, and this is a great location where you can find direct information from the U.S. government on the federal level on this type of information. But also, all the states are present. So if you would like to connect with these states to learn what they do, all 50 of them will have a booth, and you can walk from one state to the other. It was mentioned before that the country is big, so this is just one, like a one-stop shop there. We've got tons of breakout sessions on, how do you deal with tax, how do you deal with visa immigration. Inflation Reduction Act was mentioned somewhere on the CHIPS Act, for example, with that. So with all the information, we'd love to help you. As mentioned, the US is open for business. We'd love to grow with you. So please reach out when you have a question. You see my name here, but I don't know if Yvonne will share the contact details, but LinkedIn should work as well. If you're interested in learning more about this summit, it's on flexusaSummit.us for more information. With that, I want to give the word to Saskia.
Okay, thank you, Philip. Well, what I really like about this session is, again, more than 10 years ago, I started at the Netherlands Business Support Office. Our goal then was to help Dutch companies doing business in Texas. And I was so surprised how much the Dutch government can do for entrepreneurs. And often businesses don't know it. So that's why I'm really happy that Philip and I, and also Jacob, are here to tell everybody there's so much help for you if you need it, but you have to know about it. So what can we as an economic network in the US do for you? There are a couple of things. You may have seen it before, but we organize events, trade missions, but also missions to the US or missions to the Netherlands, where we bring people who are interested to learn about what the Dutch are doing. Those are all kind of things that we as embassies and consulates are doing for companies, and we'd like to bring them in. Also, when we have a minister or when a royal couple is coming over, we always try to bring companies to get along, because doors will be opened that normally won't be opened. And for instance, 2 years ago, there was a big event in New York, the New York Water Week, and LG Sonic was speaking there as well. So that's also a good way to get attention. And of course, our network, Philip was also already mentioned it, but we also, again, have a huge network. Again, I was mentioning an embassy, 5 consulates, 3 MBSOs. You can imagine that they all have a very huge network. I've been working with TOPS in Houston also pretty often in the past. So that network is so valuable, and it's so easy to get an introduction than when you have to do and try things yourself. Philip was mentioning that they're working on reports to see the demographics of a city. What we're also doing as an economic network is see, like the report I just mentioned about opportunities in the water sector. We make roadmaps, we make sector reports. So to see for specific sectors, where do we see the opportunities and where do we want to work together, also based on what our ministries are looking for. So those are things that are really what we can help with. Well, hopefully, we'll have a trainee in September. And then also we would like to have that trainee work on the water tech sector in the US. Okay, so where are opportunities? How can we better find things? So Yvonne, I hope to get back with that to you later, but that's also something as a network that we can do, constantly looking, okay, where are opportunities and how can we help? And I just want to give another example. The ambassador is in Iowa right now, and colleagues came to me, well, are there water issues in Iowa? So I looked it up because I didn't know for sure, but what was going on, what the main problem is in Iowa is agricultural pollution. So I reached out to Yvonne. Yvonne, is that something that we as the Netherlands are experts in? Can we help? And Yvonne shared some companies and said, well, definitely, we have a lot of expertise. So I sent that information to the ambassador. She's going to talk to the governor, and she can mention it in her conversation. Again, I don't know if she's going to mention it, but at least it's possible that she's going to mention it to the governor of Iowa. And that's also, again, what we're doing. We try to open doors for companies in different ways. So that's a little bit what the network constantly does. And again, we can help in different ways. And I also Jacob already mentioned it, and I think also Philip, we also have RVO, the Netherlands Enterprise Agency. It's also an organization within the government. A lot of businesses don't know about, but RVO does a lot. They have a lot of useful tools. They also can share market information. They have information about the rules and regulations, and they have different ways of financing. So if you want to go to the United States and you need a voucher, for instance, to go to a conference or whatever, they can provide things when you're doing the right things. I was talking about the Partners International Business. If there's a cluster of companies who want to go to the United States, they have to fund a big part themselves, but also the government will find a big part of it. So that's also something where we can help. If you have, for instance, we talked about companies that just starting. If you have a product, a demonstration product you want to do something with, there are also subsidies for that. So that's really, I think, important to know, because again, when I started for the government, I didn't even know about it, and I used to be an entrepreneur myself. So it's really interesting to look at the RVO website. What you will see right now is I wrote down 3 interesting websites, and of course there are more. But I think when you go to RVO and you go to the United States website, you get a lot of information, even a report that Tubbs wrote. So there is really a lot of information to find if you decide to go to the United States. Also, there's a part within the RVO site where they're looking for sectors that are of interest and where they see possibilities. So take a look at that. And again, finally, the sector of the opportunity report I talked about earlier, that's also here. You can not download it, but you can ask for information, and then RVO will send it to you. So there is a lot. And again, please make use of it, because that's why we are here, and that's what our work is all about. Help companies and in different ways. And there's some final thing I would like to say. When you look also at collaboration, for instance, Rijkswaterstaat, everybody knows it in the Netherlands, it has also an MOU with the Army Corps of Engineers. So also there are connections. So if you need specific context, the Army Corps of Engineers is always very willing to help. And again, it doesn't say that you have business right away. That's something you have to do yourself. But we can open so many doors. And with that, I would like to conclude. And please take a look at the website. I think you find so much information that might be of interest. And I wish you all the luck in doing business in the United States. Thank you.
Thank you, Saskia. Thank you, Philip, for sharing this. Again, great information, and I really hope that the companies in the call can make good use of this. It's definitely good to hear a little bit more what both embassies can do. And I've been an entrepreneur myself, working in among others in the US, and I could have used lots of information on beforehand. That would have been extremely helpful. So all the companies in the call, please make use of the available resources and just spam Philip and Saskia. With this, I would like to invite everyone, if you have a question, please do ask them. This is your opportunity to do so. Are there any questions? And again, we will share contact details. So you will definitely be able to reach out to everyone who spoke in this webinar. And if there are not any questions at this moment, I would like to thank all the speakers, everyone who joined us. It was great to hear everyone's insights. And I think we can conclude that there's definitely challenges with the US market, but it's so rich with opportunity, especially for water technology, that we should definitely keep the conversations open and keep the opportunities open. There's still lots of opportunity to meet, and I'd like to address one of those, which is the WEFTEC. Saskia already mentioned that one. WEFTEC will be held in Chicago, September 29 to October 1st, if I see it correctly. Yes. And with the Water Alliance, we will have a Netherlands pavilion again. We have a great group of Dutch companies already that will join us. There's still like the last maybe 2 spots left for companies who still want to join. Just reach out to me directly, and then we'll definitely can make it happen for you. There will be great networking opportunities, as always. I believe that the companies that have joined us before can definitely confirm that. Slots to present. Cleveland Water Alliance will host a networking reception, so it's great to hopefully we can all meet EB and well make use of her knowledge and expertise. And then we have a post-WEFTEC event organized by the Water Council. So the whole combination could be a great opportunity for companies. And we have Beverly from the Water Council in this call. So Beverly, would you be so kind to share a little bit more about the post-WEFTEC event?
Sure, and thank you very much. It's been a really fascinating webinar. I've really enjoyed listening to everyone's insights. So I am the European representative for the Water Council. I'm based in Ireland. The Water Council, if you haven't heard of us, we're a globally networked hub. We're based in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, so also on the Great Lakes. We're on the shores of Lake Michigan. We've been partners with the Water Alliance now for almost a decade. We share a strong commitment to innovation and to helping companies grow internationally. So if you're one of the companies that are planning to be at WEFTEC in Chicago this year, we'd love it for you to consider extending your trip and join us just up the road in Milwaukee. We're hosting our 4th Focused Market Development event. It's designed specifically for European companies, and really it helps to maintain the momentum of WEFTEC while you're still in the US and give you a deeper, more targeted view of what it really takes to succeed in the market. So over 2 days, we offer briefings, topic experts that we bring in, roundtables with utilities, industrial users. We have deep dive sessions on regulations, market entry strategies, sales and marketing, culture, information on incentives and tax credits, how to build your US team cost effectively. So it's really become, over the last 4 years, a playbook to land and expand in the US. You'll also hear first-hand experiences from European companies that have already made the leap, what worked, what they do differently, how they've approached the US market. So it's also a chance, I'd say, to connect with our water tech ecosystem in Wisconsin. We've got very progressive utilities. It's a very collaborative business community. We're very fortunate that so many of the water companies in the region support the event. They value global partnerships. And I think particularly this year, more than ever, we think it's really important to look at the business environment at the state level, especially when the national conversation currently feels so unpredictable. What else should I tell you? In terms of logistics, we take care of everything apart from your hotels. So from the moment you leave McCormick Place on our group bus to the moment that we take you back to O'Hare Airport for your flight home on Friday afternoon, everything's taken care of, all the programming, all the meals, all the networking opportunities. We limit places to between 30 and 40 absolute maximum to keep conversations meaningful. And I'll be sharing a flyer with Yvonne over the next day or two with information on how to register. We'll be opening registration next week. And of course, feel free to connect with me directly. I'd love to share more or talk with you individually. And thanks very much for the opportunity, Yvonne, to share the event.
Yes, thank you, Beverly. I do think that the whole combination of the WEFTEC with your post-WEFTEC event could be of great value to any of the European companies. So thank you for sharing a bit more information about the program. And we will definitely share the flyer with everyone who attended the webinar. So one last opportunity for people to ask a question. And otherwise, again, I would like to thank all the speakers, everyone attending. Thank you for sharing your insights, and well, looking forward to seeing everyone sometime soon.
Thanks for organizing, Yvonne and Mirte.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Bye.